So we're good. All right, we'll call to order. We'll do a roll call. District 1, Mr. Jeffrey Lee, Vice Chair.
Present.
District 2, Dr. Valme, Samuel Valme.
Here.
District 3, Mrs. Diane Easter. Here. District 4, myself, Felicia Harold, Chair, present. District 5 is still vacant. Our tax commissioners appointees, Nicholas Craig isn't present, and Mr. Lee Kelly isn't either. Our Superior Court selected alternative, Clerk of Superior Court selected alternate, Dr. Erica Pike. Present. All righty. Moving on to item B, approval of the minutes from August 19th, 2025. Can I get a motion on the floor to approve those minutes?
I make the motion to approve the minutes.
I second the motion. All in favor? Item C, we're going to go to our general updates from the Ethics Administrator.
Good evening, Chair
Good
and
evening.
board members. I just have 3 quick little updates for you. So our District 5 replacements, so the applicants were initially supposed to interview on the 28th of August, but due to a high volume of cases that were being presented to the grand jury, that had to be rescheduled. So the applicants will be interviewing with the grand jury on September 18th at 11 a.m. So we should have a replacement by the end of that day. I just have to schedule to get this one in. Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
Can you restate the date for me?
Yes, September 18th
Thank you.
at 11 o'clock.
Thank you.
Second update is the Henry Night Out, the trunk or treat. The flyer has gone out. That date is October the 30th from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Echo Park Speedway. So in Breezy, we've discussed it and we have decided that our theme this year is going to be Dia de Muertos, so Day of the Dead. If any of the board members would like to come and help us hand out candy, that would be appreciated. If you'd like to dress up, that would be nice as well. I know last year we had a pretty good time. Member Samuel Valme showed up and helped us hand out candy for a good while, so that was pretty nice last year. So we are going to be participating in that. So far, they haven't said anything about providing candy or anything yet. I think they're meeting tomorrow to kind of finalize everything. So, but we've already submitted our application to get a spot assigned to us. So we will be participating in that. Does anybody have any questions? And my last update is just a reminder for the board that the fall forum is tomorrow at 6 p.m. If all members that are attending, if they could please show up at least 10 to 15 minutes early, just so you can be in place. You know, make sure that you have what you need up there. If you need to bring water or anything like that. There will be nameplates up there for each and every member. Just remember to please wear your name badge. Just so citizens, if you know, afterwards, if citizens might come up to you, they let us know who you are. So that is tomorrow at 6 o'clock p.m. Does anybody have any questions?
Participation?
It's at the administration building in the community room.
To the room where we have hearings.
Yes. And if anybody doesn't know where the administration building is, it's at 140 Henry.
Great. 8 o'clock by the table.
Yes. I'll have the table set up and I've already loaded it.
Thank you.
And that's my last update, if nobody has any questions.
Okay, item D, general updates by ethics officer.
Evening board, as it relates to the updates that we have, I'm going to piggyback off of the ethics forum. Before you, you have the proposed agenda that we will be finalizing so that we can have them on tomorrow. I just want to confirm that everyone is still good with the assignments that the board decided on at the last meeting. And there's been no changes. Everybody still will be in attendance. Should be this document.
Yeah, that's it.
Lee Kelly won't be in attendance.
I'll ask Mr. Craig if he mind covering that session.
Yeah.
by himself. If you need any help, I don't mind jumping in and help them.
Okay.
Everything else is okay? Perfect. We have also just put before the board a sample of what the agenda will look like. It will be printed out. This is kind of what it will look like. Have a bigger version. This one? Yes, thank you. Gloria had a great suggestion. I'm going to edit it to put the name of the presenter as well as the district number. So people are able to put a name with a face. So that's the only addition that I planned on adding unless the board has any other additions they would like to see on this agenda that will be passed out. Relates to where we are with our cases, we have 4 probable cause cases. We will go through all of those tonight. They're all reading. We have Monica Jackson versus Rocky Romero, Nicholas Baker versus Joseph Baxley, John Doe versus Scott Morris, Johnny Holland, and Victoria Rogers, and then Shayna Parks versus Bernita Campbell. In addition, we have 4 that are still pending formal investigation. 3 that are ready for the hearing. The hearing dates have been set for October 28th and 29th. We will be sending out subpoenas, so if there is anybody that you want to or feel like the board needs to hear from in regards to the probable cause and what you heard on that day, if the board would like them to be sent subpoena and to be present, please let us know that within the next week. We can make sure we secure their attention. All right. No, ma'am, it looks like the Zoom is not sharing for the public, so I don't wanna, if I can get that corrected. In regards to the hearing on October 28th and 29th, I anticipate that we will have at least 5 that will be raising for those 2 dates, which include all of the John Does. That's really one case, and then the case including Benjamin Tripp, that will be ready as well. My goal is to have the rest of them, which is the Morrison versus Matthews and Johnson ratings. It's just gonna depend on what some information that I need from third parties, whether or not that comes back in time. That one also had a council on it, so we're gonna have to coordinate with their schedules as well.
And this is all for October 28th, the 9th?
Yes, ma'am. In addition, we have training updates. We have increased our total trainings to 847 in person, 798, which is a total of 1,645. As I mentioned before to the board, I realized probably about a month or 2 that I feel like our numbers are always gonna be skewed because the employees are always coming and leaving. So right when I say my gap is closing, it's not. And just to give the board an example of why, within the last month, I've trained 67 new employees. That number is always on or up and down. But we did deliver certain certificates to various departments who have completed at the time that we did our audit. The Board of Commissioners, they have received their certificates, the Board of Assessors, the Purchasing Department, the Tax Assessor, Erie County Transit, the Water Authority, all of those have been completed and delivered to the departments.
Congratulations.
We will also send out an email blast congratulating them as well. And that is the conclusion of item D.
Moving on to item E, presentation by Ethics Officer of proper calls on case 2025 EB 11, Monica Jacks versus Rocky Romero.
Thank you. In regards to this is against Mr. Rocky Romero, who is Splash Director. We do have subject matter jurisdiction, and the complaint alleges that there is a failure to disclose. Based on the allegations, the complainant stated that on July 10th at approximately 9:10, the complaint was called into a conference room by Mr. Mivens, where Mr. Rocky and Ms. James were present. At that time, Mr. Romero informed the complainant that the employment was going to be terminated, effective immediately, instructed her to return the phone, laptop, and badge. The complainant stated no reason for the termination, simply that there was going to be a separation and that notice will come by mail. The complainant further reports that she was directed to pick up her final check on July 25th and return county issued shirts. There's an allegation that they had only been employed one time and there had not been any disciplinary measures. The only disciplinary measure that was taken was a verbal notice, and that individual was informed that that would not go in her personnel file. The complainant indicated that they felt that they were not properly trained for the job, and that the job that they were trained to do really was a job of multiple people, and ultimately that they were set up for failure, which is why they believe they were improperly terminated. They indicated that the termination was unfair, unprofessional, and left them feeling set up to fail. Claims that the termination did not have transparency, equity, or fairness, and that they were left uncertain about job security, and ashamed of the efforts that were put forth. They did not provide any direct evidence with the complaint for me to review. As previously mentioned, their complaint was a failure to disclose. I put before the board what the requirement is in order to satisfy failure to disclose. And that's when an official or an employee has an interest in something that relates directly to the actions of the county. They have to disclose those actions to this board as well as the Board of Commissioners if it involves some type of contract. So this is the allegation that they claim Mr. Romero is in violation of.
The door and so on, with something wrong.
Based on the allegation and a review of the complaint, my recommendation for the board is to dismiss for lack of probable cause. It does not appear that while the complainant is unhappy with the termination and the procedure, that there was any ethical violation that took place that the board would have subject matter to investigate. Are there any questions about this particular case?
Would anyone like to put a motion on the floor?
I'll put a motion on the floor to agree with the attorney, stating that this case does not meet the threshold for failure to disclose.
So as it relates to case 20.
Case 22, sorry, case 25 EB 11.
I second the motion.
All in favor of dismissing for lack of probable cause?
The next case before the board is 2025 EB 12, Nicholas Baker versus Joseph Baxley. As relates to this is a Henry County Sheriff. We do have a question of subject matter jurisdiction, and this is why. The preliminary investigation showed that that person is alleging failure to show impartiality in performing official duties, misuse of position, conflict with official duties, and engaging in activities prohibited by law. The allegations can become a little convoluted, but I narrowed them down to the bare bones of the complaint. And that is that this involves 3 dispossessory cases involving the same parties. It appears that the dispossessory has been outstanding, I believe, since about 2021. In the complaint, the individual stated that Officer Baxley inappropriately served a writ of possession that was issued by the court to the wrong party. The writ was marked to be served on the complainant's girlfriend, however, it was not. The complainant indicated that they've been having trouble in regards to proper notice of the writ of dispossessory since about 2023. And that there are 3 current cases that are pending as a result of the court not handling the dispossessory in the service of the writ correctly. There was no additional evidence that was provided for me to review and consider. I remind the board of what each definition is: the failure to show impartiality in performing official duties, that's giving someone the reasonable basis of impression that they can be improperly influenced, or there's some type of unduly rank or kinship or association. The misuse of position, appearing on their own behalf, using their position to gain some type of unwarranted privileges or exemptions. Conflict of official duties when you acquire an interest in a contract or a transaction. And at that time, you have reason to believe that the county is going to be directly affected by the action or the inactions of whatever contract you were interested in. Engaging in activity by law, that's engaging in any activity, obviously, you have to be that the law has to apply to that individual as an employee. But if you engage in that activity while being an employee that's against the law, then you will be subject to this violation as well. For all 4 of the alleged violations, I recommend that we dismiss for lack of subject matter jurisdiction. This involves a writ of possession to which the board has authority to determine whether or not the court issued or did not issue a writ appropriately.
All right. I put a motion on the floor to dismiss for lack of subject matter jurisdiction, item 2025 EB 12, Nicholas Baxter versus Joseph Baxley.
I second.
All in favor? Item G, presentation of ethics officer probable cause on case number 2025 EB 13, John Doe versus Scott Morris, Johnny Holland, and Victoria Rogers.
In regards to this case, Mr. Scott Morris is the director of transportation. Mr. Johnny Holland is a superintendent at the director or Department of Transportation. And Ms. Victoria Rogers is the deputy director of human resources and risk management. So we do have jurisdiction over all 3 of those individuals personally. There are 3 allegations that are being made. One is the disclosure of confidential information. The next one is the misuse of position. The last one is the failure to disclose. The complainant alleges that on July 21st, they returned from personal leave. On the return, they were written up and issued a 2-day suspension without pay. The suspension stemmed from allegations that while the complainant was on leave, fellow crew members were unable to crank the complainant's tractor. The supervisor, who is Mr. Johnny Holland, was notified. It said that the supervisor did the inspection of the tractor in lieu of fleet. After Inspection, the supervisor discovered that there was a fuse in the starting circuit that had been removed. And ultimately, it was determined that the complainant tampered with the tractor before going on leave, which caused the 2-day suspension because the complainant was the last person to operate the tractor. The complainant disputes this and indicates that there was another employee that actually operated the tractor who could have damaged it. I did review several things that was provided to us, which is the personnel form dated September 17, 2025. In that form, it specifically indicated that the individual would be suspended for a lack of accountability and abuse of I also reviewed an email to Victoria Rogers, who is HR requesting the file. The problem that the complainant had against Ms. Rogers directly was the amount of time it took the complainant to get the file. The letter dated August the 8th that requested clarification of the personnel file form that we just talked about. There was a letter dated September 23rd that requested to know what the discipline protocol was and also requested to be reassigned. The complainant felt as though they were being targeted within their particular division. I also reviewed an email correspondence between the complainant and HR regarding the suspension, and whether or not it was done appropriately. I reviewed a letter dated August 7th regarding the findings of HR. HR did do an internal investigation and they found that there was valid reasons to issue the 2-day suspension. I reviewed the email correspondence between the complainant and HR that expressed the findings, as well as the counseling records forms that was provided, and then a letter that the individual provided to the Board of Ethics asking for review. The things that the complainant indicated, as we mentioned before, the disclosure of confidential information, that was one violation. The misuse of position was another. And failure to disclose is the last one. As it relates to Mr. Scott Morris, this is the Director of Transportation. For disclosure of confidential information, I recommend dismiss for lack of probable cause, as the facts provided to the board did not meet this standard. As it relates to failure to disclose interest, I also recommend dismiss for lack of probable cause. As it relates to misuse of position, I do recommend that there is probable cause to look further into that issue. The complainant alleged that they felt as if Mr. Morris was using his position ultimately to further another agenda of getting this individual fired due to prior complaints. So I do recommend a further investigation on Mr. Morris as it relates to misuse of position.
I have 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Did the individual receive any counseling prior to this one?
Not for this particular incident, no.
Okay.
There have been other counseling, but other things.
And did the individual formally rebut the suspension, the 2-day suspension in writing in any form?
Yes, the individual expressed their rebuttal to HR, which initiated the formal investigation within HR.
And there was a response back to the individuals of the findings?
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Apparently it was discovered when he went out on leave. Did they have any evidence or anything to show that he was the only one and no one else rode the tractor?
No evidence outside of the fact that someone stated he was the last person to use it. It appears that they're assigned different tractors or may use certain tractors, but the complainant indicates that there was another individual that day that the complainant was out to actually use the tractor. And that's how the tractor was determined that the fuse was not working. And so the complainant's sentiments was, I was not the last one. The person who got on the tractor to actually use the tractor was the last one.
So is it a fuse that was removed or a fuse that blew or?
According to the complaint, it was a removed piece in the starting circuit.
Okay. Do they have like a sign out log or anything when they sign them out or anybody just get?
I don't know at this stage if they're the protocol of the tractor use. That wasn't provided to me by the complainant.
Is there a maintenance individual that a motor pool maintenance person at the places where they park these vehicles?
Based on the complainant's complaint, it appears that Philippe should have investigated. However, according to the complainant, Mr. Holland is the investigator, or excuse me, the supervisor investigated, not Philippe, to see what was really wrong with the tractor.
So the fuse, missing fuse, was it found?
I'm not sure at this stage.
So as it stands, there's no physical or media that evidence that can show the alleged removal of this fuse, correct? The fuse is missing, but there's absolutely no evidence on who actually removed it. We're just going by innuendo. Right? So we're going by someone said something, but there is no actual physical evidence.
Correct. And
Okay, and so this fuse that was in this tractor that was left when he went on leave, does that fuse also fit other tractors?
I'm not sure.
So in other words, if another tractor, for whatever reason, lacked or blew a fuse, could someone have then removed this fuse and put it in their tractor? So it would seem that the last person who used it removed it, but what if someone else did? Is there any evidence, recorded evidence that shows the fleet sitting somewhere and to know when and if it's been tampered? So a law tells me who checked it out, but a video evidence tells me who physically removed or tampered with, right?
Correct.
Okay, so there's absolutely no evidence. It's just, I think you did this, but I can't prove it.
According to the complainant, because remember, we're at probable cause, I didn't interview anybody.
Mhm.
But that's why I'm recommending to move forward, because the complainant, their sentiments is that Mr. Morris is concocting this to put it on me because of other complaints I've had against this individual in attempts to ultimately get me fired.
So my concern is confidentiality. Perhaps there is, if you are going on a set of words, video, whatever sort of evidence you're using to support your theory, if I'm not presented with that same information to rebut, then technically, are you kind of holding things private? Because what are you actually, how can you say, I think you did something, and then I be reprimanded for something you think I did with no absolute proof of? It makes no sense to me. So basically, I can say you did anything on any given day because I'm your supervisor. But then what I said wasn't then backed up or confirmed by the fleet manager or maintenance. So I've made a solo decision with absolutely no evidence, and then I'm supported by HR.
And that's why that bottom part of misuse of position, that is, exactly what the complainant is saying. That the director is misusing his position by concocting something against the complainant that they allege did not happen because they were on leave, but there's this personal mission to get this person out of the employee.
In addition to the direct supervisor or supervisor at sidestep protocol. And instead of allowing the fleet manager to do his or her job or their job, he took it upon himself to investigate, which in reality wasn't his place to do technically. It should have been out to be looked
If
at.
that's protocol,
What's protocol?
yeah, because
So we need to find out
what
what's
the
protocol.
protocol is.
And then I would like to know what information he claimed he has to support his theory, and if he has presented that same information to the person that was disciplined.
I'd also like to know the maintenance protocol as well for fuses. Do they replace them? Is there an investigation because there's a blown or missing fuse? How's that usually handled?
Especially since they are held accountable
Yes.
for damage or misplaced.
And it leads to a letter of reprimand.
Because
We got 2-day suspension.
I'm sorry, 2-day suspension, yes. I got a letter of reprimand, 2-day suspension.
And was that without pay?
Yes.
I get without pay.
That was without pay.
Well, he seems to be able to point out that somebody else operated the vehicle. And if someone else operated the vehicle and he's blamed in an absence, I definitely don't think you can pin him on that.
Well, we need to look at the log records to see if that
That's what I
vehicle was
mean.
logged. Yeah, if that,
Operation.
exactly. If there's a log, we need to review that to see if the vehicle was operating when he was on leave or when he was out.
I don't really think, I think that we could look at that, but it doesn't resolve anything. Because unless there's video evidence of him physically tampering with that, we can't say someone else didn't do it in his absence.
Yeah.
You can't say someone did something. So in other words, if I ride my car and I park it into a public garage, and there are multiple employees and there are other vehicles beside mine, unless there is some recording that records the interactions and so I can write anything on a log and I can check it out and I can return the keys. But I can't say if anyone else that passed by my vehicle, that stopped by, that I can't say no one else touched this vehicle without any video proof, really.
Well, no, if there's a log and someone used the vehicle, that means it was operable.
No, I understand. So in other words, I operated it. I went on vacation or leave for 2 days. Someone else checked the log and said that I'm now about to operate the vehicle. I get in the vehicle, it doesn't work. We don't know why it doesn't work. We can't say the person who took it off on leave. Yes, he brought it in, he parked it. So let's say my husband comes home from work, my car's sitting next to his in the garage. If my husband wanted to remove something from my car, if we had the identical car, and he wanted to borrow my battery and drive off and come back, he could. Like, who's to say he didn't do that if I get in my car and my battery's missing?
I don't think they're saying that it didn't work when the second person came. I think it worked.
I don't think it did.
It didn't work.
I don't think it worked when the second person did that. And when the second person went to drive it, they realized then the fuse was missing.
Okay.
And so I guess they're alleging that perhaps he removed the fuse because he didn't want anyone else driving his tractor while he was away.
And to clarify, the complaint is stating that the second person went to use the tractor and it was not working.
It was not working.
And that second person called the supervisor and to look at it instead of the individual did say that there is the person who went to use the tractor, the second individual was instructed to write an incident report. And that they requested incident report, but they never received it. So that's one thing that we would need to look into because obviously there's some type of report of this incident. The complainant also indicated that in this department, there's multiple teams. And ever since this individual has moved to this particular team by force rather than choice, they've been attempting to there's allegations that there has been attempts to get this individual terminated, and that was directly said to that individual.
So I think you answered one of the questions I had in my mind because I was wondering if these equipments were assigned to individuals. But you answered that when you said someone else went to use it. So apparently anyone could actually have access to it and use it. So, I mean, who's to say that someone else didn't try to use it and just didn't report it, if they broke it or something. And then once the other person went to use it, they said, oh, I'm going to report it because I don't want to be held responsible. So anyone could have used it if it's not an assigned vehicle.
Just have another question. The HR, they looked into this and they found that they agreed with, I guess, the director in regards to the 2-day suspension. But my question is, on what grounds? Is it on the grounds that they did an investigation to also collaborate findings, or on the grounds that the director had the authority to do what he did?
That the director had the authority, the proper channels. So the investigation wasn't confirming that the individual did something wrong. It was just confirming that proper channels were done in order to suspend this individual.
And how impartial is that? Like,
From HR, HR, we'll get to that slide, but it seemed to be impartial. It sounded like, or it didn't sound like, what was presented to me is the fact that he had an issue with how long it took to get certain documentation from HR. He eventually got it, but his question at HR was, what is the protocol? And did they follow the protocol? So investigation was, did they follow the protocol? They investigated, and the response was, and I quote, I can confirm that your suspension was approved through the proper channels. That was the conclusion of HR.
Can we go back to the summary of the complaint, please?
Yes.
And what's the proper channel?
There was some questions about the paper that was given, and I'll read to the board the letter. This letter is to formally respond to your complaint submitted on July 24, 2025, concerning allegations of a hostile work environment and claims that you were being targeted through disciplinary actions. We have investigated your concerns and complaints. After a thorough review, we have found that your concerns are not substantiated by the evidence available. Although we did not find evidence to substantiate your claim, we are implementing the following recommendations. Based on the findings of this review, we recommend reinstatement of your driving privileges effective immediately. Please be sure to review policy 2.01. Professionalism workplace training will be scheduled with all staff to reinforce expectations for respectful communication and behavior in the workplace. Thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. This concludes our review of your concerns, and this will take no further action.
What evidence did they present him or her with to say that they believe they did X, Y, and Z? Were they presented with any evidence or just thought?
Was HR presented with?
The
complainant?
Mhm.
It appears that the complainant was not presented with anything because remember the complainant was out for 2 days personal leave approved.
Mhm.
The day that the complainant got back, the complainant was immediately handed this personnel action form and advised that they had to leave for 2 days suspension. Yes.
Sure, for going back to this, but, so for the 2 days that the individual was on approved leave, did the vehicle not move?
That's my next question.
That's my point for the record.
Because if they didn't move this vehicle over a doggone fuse, what does that say about the department?
I'm not really sure. I think that
They
probably
can't
would have
change the
been
views?
information or would be information in the incident report of when the second individual actually attempted to crank up the tractor.
So are they saying basically no employee outside of fleet managers and crew can perform any maintenance on the vehicles that they use or operating or the equipment they use? Is that what the issue is? Because I'm wondering if you pop in and you see a fuse is missing, pop a fuse in and go back to work. How do we get to a suspension?
To the complainant's point, they believe that this is, again, all disciplinary actions taken against them
Extreme disciplinary action.
for the purposes of trying to get them terminated.
It was a fuse and something else still, wasn't it?
It didn't
It was
start.
a fuse within the circuit, right?
It didn't start. Just the vehicle wouldn't allegedly. But there's nothing to substantiate that he actually disrupted that vehicle before he left that I've heard.
The personnel form that was actually made says specifically abuse of equipment and lack of accountability.
That's a strong term to say someone abused equipment with no absolute proof.
Well, let me ask another question. Outside of the supervisor's inspection of the vehicle, inspection of the vehicle, did any maintenance individual inspect the vehicle as well to confirm?
According to the complainant, no, that we did not inspect the vehicle. And I don't know at this preliminary stage how much authority the supervisor has to inspect vehicles and make findings.
So once the Once the supervisor inspected the vehicle, found their findings, fleet manager or crew never repaired it? Who repaired the vehicle? Who replaced the fuse?
I don't know. The repair of the vehicle did not come up from the complainant. It was the fact that they alleged he tore it up.
I'm sorry, do you know, do they keep a vehicle log?
I wouldn't know. And I'm sorry, board, it sounds like I always say I don't know, but remember, we're only at probable cause. So at probable cause, I only look at what is given to me.
I would want the maintenance log on the vehicle because I would want to know if someone replaced it with a new part or a used part. And if in place it was replaced with a used part, where did it come from? Was it just some extra parts we removed from some disabled vehicles? Or did we have to order a new part? I would like to know the maintenance records on that vehicle.
Or was it the actual part they put back?
That's my whole point.
Well, that probably would be a gas log also, because if someone gassed it while he was up, that would show that someone else wrote it.
And there's no fleet, if the protocol, I want to know protocol, because the protocol is for the fleet division to maintain records as well as repairs. I want to know why they were completely Xed out of the process. And where did the part come from once it was replaced?
And the protocol for vehicles that are not operable. What is the protocol? Do you call fleet? How do you get that vehicle back up and running?
I agree. And I'm curious on what information was withheld and was there full disclosure of confidential information? Kind of wonder if that is an issue. Did the complainant have all the information that his supervisor had to make his decision?
I would tend to agree.
For this, for that code, it would be the actual disclosure or use of confidential information acquired by an individual for his or her gain or private person.
If the person wasn't, if the complainant wasn't updated on how it was repaired, where the piece came from, was the original piece, was it found, did it drop, did someone remove it and put it back, was it replaced with a new part? If there's information into how this disabled vehicle became operable, how did it go from A to Z? I would like to know, because if I'm disciplined for it, I like to know who fixed it and how.
Yes, that would be, for 2 days, you're out. And there was a fuse missing, so for whatever reason, there was a stop work because of that.
Right.
And they're saying you were responsible for that stop work. How long was the stop work? Was it 2 days? Was it 1 day? And what was the remedy for that? That part more likely was not disclosed to this individual.
He was just told he did it hearing.
I believe-
Much debate.
I believe for this one, disclosure of confidential, I did not recommend probable cause because it sounds like what you all are describing to me is not disclosing information to the complainant. But according to the code, this section is you actually using confidential information, so you actually do disclose something. But I do believe that still goes with the misuse of position. Because if information was supposed or should have been told to the complainant, whereas the complainant would have made the inference of how that fuse was removed, but it was not shared, then that's still misusing the position for certain exemptions or unwanted.
So it's like saying, I am the boss and I say, is what it is. You're suspended, period. There's no disclosure why and all of that evidence or anything. So that's why it falls under the misuse.
But if the supervisor had information to support his recommendation, then he used confidential information that wasn't shared with the complainant to then further his objective, no?
Disclose or otherwise use confidential information acquired by virtue of his or her position or his or her or another person's private gain.
If it is furthering my objective, isn't it? Personal gain, if I then
I do see your point.
Because it says it right here, disclose or otherwise use confidential information acquired by virtue of his position, which is what we're talking about, his position for his or her or other person's private gain.
I can see your point as well. Now you mentioned the supervisor. Did you mean the director or the supervisor? Because we haven't gotten
Director.
the supervisor yet.
Mr. Whoever we're discussing at this moment, Mr. Morris is who we're discussing at this moment? Yes.
Mr. Morris is who we are discussing at the moment. However, Mr. Holland is the one that's the supervisor.
Yes, Mr. Holland would be that guy.
Yes, ma'am.
Remind me of Mr., he's just supported Mr. Holland's findings.
Correct.
Is he privy to the same information Mr. Holland's been privy to?
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
And that's why I was asking how.
the commercial was. Right, the complainant did not talk about Mr. Morris in that way, only Mr. Holland.
The suspension was upheld by Mr. Morris.
I'm going to assume so when HR indicated that the correct protocols were made, given that he is the director of transportation.
Would Mr. Morris inquire about all the details pertaining to the maintenance logs, repairs, operation, any evidence pertaining to the vehicle's operation or maintenance?
That was not provided to me. Only thing that Mr. Complainant indicated about Mr. Morris specifically, actually, the complaint didn't name Mr. Morris specifically in the complaint, but listed the complainant as a respondent.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
Thank you.
specifically did mention Mr. Holland when he offered this.
For the 2-day suspension, what was the violation?
The violation included lack of accountability and abuse of equipment
So it was abuse of equipment.
and lack of accountability.
And so lack of accountability is me saying I didn't do it. Or them saying they didn't do it. So they is seen as not being accountable, correct?
It appears that way.
So if you,
Alrighty.
Or the fact they saying he wasn't accountable for the equipment that was assigned to him.
but he was not there.
They're saying he tore it up before he left.
There's some evidence.
That's-
There's, exactly. I mean, don't go on leave.
Like, is there a protocol to when I return a vehicle? I mean,
Yeah, it's like, is there a protocol for when they check the vehicle, if you check it, just make sure everything is okay?
we thoroughly discussed Mr. Holland. Is the board ready to go forth a vote on Mr. Morris?
I'll make a motion.
Did we also say the first?
We're only doing.
Not for Mr. Morris, I would say for Mr. Holland, yes.
I'm sorry, one more question. Is it Mr. Morris that issued the 2-day suspension?
The document provided does not state who actually signed or who actually confirmed the 2 days suspension. It's a general personnel action form. The one that was provided is not signed. I would have to assume that as the director, only a director has the authority to issue suspension. Again, that's an assumption because that was not provided to me.
Okay, all right.
Morris is the one that's conducting the counseling, so I assume he signed it.
Okay. All right, so, for case 2025 EB 13 for Scott Morris, I agree with the disclosure confidence. Well, wait a minute. I would move to to change the disclosure. Give me 1 second. Yes, to change the disclosure confidentiality to probable cause
For Mr. Morris and not just Mr. Holland?
for both, but we're only on Mr. Hartmarsh right now. And I would agree with the misuse of position for probable cause and failure to disclose an interest. I agree with the dismiss of lack of probable cause. That's my motion. Makes sense.
I think for the record, it may be a little clearer if we take them allegation by allegation.
Yes. Let's do that.
Okay. All right, so for the disclosure of confidentiality.
Okay, I'm sorry, Dr. Valme, before you start. I don't want to seem disappointing because I've sat here and had this drawn out conversation. But I don't see a lot of bearing on Mr. Morris, more on Mr. Holland. So when I say no, 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 I want y'all to know why I'm saying it.
Mm.
Okay,
So
I'm sorry.
Morris is the director, right?
Ms. Easter, why you-
Oh, no, I was just looking for the case.
Vice Chair, what are your thoughts? Like, just quickly before he put this, Dr. Valme puts the vote out.
He has up the case.
To me, Morris is the guy that landed the boom, so to speak, with the suspension.
So he has to be accountable as well.
I think so.
Just to your point, it has to be clear.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, just to clear things up.
Steve, I'm sorry.
So why were you saying you think disclosure of confidential information? Why do you say you think that should be probable cause?
Yes, because when he did the inspection, he knew some information about what happened, what transpired. He did not disclose because no one else looked at that vehicle. Maintenance didn't look at the vehicle. He had to know something that transpired that was not disclosed.
I get it.
And the definition for that is?
It's just three, I'll show you, it's right here. 3A.
You want to do the entire thing? Mhm. Yeah, we're gonna have to break it up.
So we think it was his, how do we think he gained from that, getting that position? By,
We don't know. That's why we're doing the probable cause to find out if there's anything there.
but I'm talking about from the disclosure, failure to disclose evidence. What would he have gained? What did he gain?
Because according to the plaintiff is saying that he's trying to get him out.
So you think it's to further his cause to get him fired?
Yeah, why, what did he not move to get maintenance involved? To collaborate what his findings?
So basically, Mr. Holland's findings, and his failure to fully disclose those findings and how he came to his decision. Mr. Morris had the same information provided or available to him, but no one provided that information to the plaintiff.
I understand that, but I guess my question would be, why wouldn't it all fall on the misuse of position? Because because even though he gets him fired, he doesn't really get it personal, to my personal opinion. He doesn't really get a personal gain. He's abusing his position and his title to get somebody fired. How does he gain from getting him fired?
Yeah, I can
If I
have,
remove you and it brings me joy to have you,
yes.
that's my.
That's an abuse of my position.
If your allegation is that I don't want you in that position and I use information to my favor to get you out of that position.
Misuse of, I still say that's a misuse of position.
What it is.
It is indeed a
It is.
misuse
It
of
is.
position. However, I still had access to information I didn't provide you to support my misuse of my position. And so the failure to disclose and share that confidential information that supported my cause over here, I didn't share that confidential information.
One of the questions too is at this office, I don't see what could be confidential information that could be used or have acquired in this particular situation.
It's public whatever he used is policy and public information. He just didn't tell them what policy he used.
Not
Typically
necessarily,
for these types, or this particular violation, is where, if the board remember that, the case we had with the bidding, that was sealed bidding, is typically things that are not accessible to the public or the public's knowledge. Those things are the typical confidential information that historically has gone to this allegation.
so public knowledge, but as it relates to this employee, could they have gone and asked for all this information and be given it?
Yes.
And they would have, his supervisors would have provided that information? Can we guarantee that? Did he ask?
All of it is public records. So if they did the correct protocol, I don't know if this individual knows what the correct protocol is. But if the correct protocol would have been completed, then they should have received the information. It's no difference from if any employee wants to say, hey, I want all the information on any case that we have. So long as they go through the protocol, because we are open under the Sunshine Act, then that has to be released. All government records are public records.
What if you circumvented the process because of your position,
I
to omit?
think this is the position,
Okay.
but not disclosure of confidential information.
all right? I could agree with that.
So basically, any information that Mr. Morris and Mr. Holland would have access to because of public interest, the complainant would also have access. All they need to do is just walk in the right office and ask for it.
Yes, and the information that the board received from the complainant, that's how the complainant got it. The complainant contacted HR and said, hey, can I get, now what they did not get is the incident logs. Now, I don't know if they didn't get it because the timing got to be produced before they turned in the complaint. I don't know, but I know they are entitled to it just as well as when we do our open records request and we request it, we will be able to get it as well.
Okay.
So the key word is confidential.
Based on what I believe the interpretation is yes.
It's like insider information.
It is.
It is,
Yeah.
when I'm training my classes, I always use the example of Martha Stewart as my example to explain to them kind of what this means.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I don't think employees with these different directors and head of departments are fully aware of what they can have access to information wise when they're being disciplined. Because if that was the case, it would have said, give me I'm asking, you don't have any evidence to produce. And if you're saying you have evidence, you've not shared it. And so then you have something in confidence that I don't have access to.
Well, he could have possibly done that because he was asking HR and she's saying that the protocol was correct.
The way they got to
Mhm.
suspension.
They got to, suspension was correct.
When
So
they requested.
if I'm an employee, I'm just a layperson, I don't know what is supposed to really go in there. I would be asking for evidence, but if HR is telling me it's correct, thinking everything is okay.
And in the letter, HR quoted the policy and referred him to the policy in which it was policy 2.01, use of maintenance of county vehicles and asked him to refresh.
What does that policy state?
Yeah, can you?
What-
Do you have the policy?
Mhm.
That wasn't provided to me. But it-
That would answer some of my questions, actually.
I would answer.
That would answer some of my questions.
It was cited as something that HR reviewed in order to make a determination that the concerns were not substantiated.
I think that makes a big difference because if the individual was made aware of that policy and the policy specifically says if you use the vehicle and the vehicle is not operable after you use it, then you're going to be responsible for it. That's what it says.
What I do know is every employee is made aware of every policy, just from training new employee orientation. They are told you are responsible. This is where you can find the policies. Your employment here is basically as a result of you confirming that you know these policies and you're gonna abide by them.
I don't think that's the issue. I think we're beating a dead horse. The issue is, I said I turned in a car that was operable.
Yes.
You're saying it isn't. We're saying where's the truth that lies in between.
Yes.
And you also have to add in there that there were several attempts to operate that vehicle. And
When it was-
allegedly it didn't work. So now Mr. Holland goes to the vehicle and he says, well, the circuitry is removed, the fuse circuitry was removed, and he was the last one on it. That's a gray area for me.
And I think for me, in recommending probable cause for misuse of position is the complainant's sentiments that this is being used with all of the gray area in order to get them terminated.
Yeah.
It's like you said initially, there's no evidence to show that he was, someone can say I was the last one, but there's no proof to show that I'm the last person to use the tractor.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I could say I parked it and I signed it out on this day and no one signed it out in between, but I can't say it wasn't tampered with in between. There's no, if you're not,
Sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, that, because now I've lost my train of thought.
Oh.
I'm taking a pause.
Was there any other vehicle?
I know. That's one thing I was about to mention. I would remind the board that I would not be too quick to say there is no evidence because we're only at probable cause.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm recommending that we do move forward with a formal investigation to see what evidence was so that that can be presented to the board and the board can make a decision of whether or not that was enough or if what the complainant is saying about any of these allegations supposed to be true.
Has there been a response to this? No.
They don't respond at this stage.
Okay.
They're not even allowed to provide any rebuttal.
I am.
So when you say failure to disclose interest, what was that referring to again?
That interest would be more, so the code defines interest that has anything to do with a business that you may own or your immediate family member, if you're a shareholder, a director, those types of things. So I did not find that in this case at all.
Oh, but they need to do a leadership conference for leadership here in this county. Everybody needs to be retrained. All right, you ready to go?
Okay. Do we still need to break it out or, okay. For allegation for Mr. Scott Morris, for 2025 EB 13, for disclosure of confidential information, I will agree with the dismissal for lack of probable cause. For, I guess it's,
Are you making a motion?
I'm making a motion, yes. That's my motion for SB 22, section 7.1, Bolex 3, I'm sorry, C3.
I'll second that.
All in favor? For misuse of position, Scott Morris, SB, what is this, 2025 EB 13, John Doe versus Scott Morris. Misuse of position, I do find probable cause. Make a motion to find probable cause.
I second.
All in favor? Failure to disclose interest as well. This is also EB 2025 EB 13, John Doe versus Mr. Scott Morris. Failure to disclose interest, SB 22, section 7.1. I recommend a dismissal for lack of probable cause.
Second.
All in favor?
The next individual is Mr. Johnny Holland. Mr. Johnny Holland is the superintendent in regards to this allegation. This individual was specifically named as the person that came out to inspect the tractor instead of Fleet. This individual also is named as the individual that indicated a fuse was not present within the tractor. For this individual, I also recommended disclosure of confidential information, dismissed for lack of probable cause for the reasons stated earlier. There was no information that would not be of public knowledge that was used for anybody's private gain. Same thing for failure to disclose interest. For misuse of position, I do recommend probable cause for the same reason stated for Mr. Morris. There is some question as to whether Mr. Morris as well as Mr. Holland was using their position in order to unfairly or inappropriately create a scenario to cause unnecessary disciplinary measures against the.
And what is Mr. Holland's title?
He is superintendent in the department. I believe that is superintendent.
Attorney Rashad,
Yes.
what is your opinion on disclosure of confidential information as it relates to Mr. Holland? And our interpretation of the disclosure of confidential information, how about that? How do you,
But I don't think I can,
doesn't relate?
I don't think I can tell you what, I can tell you, like, I can give you what it means. I can't tell you what I personally think
Right. But as it relates to withholding information and using it to then remove a person from their position or suspend someone from their position, is that something that is really in the realm of disclosure of confidential information?
Well, so I agree with the ethics officer that we were thinking, like, if you're talking about like releasing confidential information, okay, but disclosure of it kind of doesn't fit here.
So basically, it's almost like a material fact.
Right, like if you're saying it just doesn't meet disclosure of confidential information for this definition under the ethics code. So if we're talking about something else, maybe I would say, but here again, this is the definition doesn't, I agree with the ethics officer that it doesn't fit.
Hypothetical, no, just. No, okay, we'll move on. Do we need to discuss Mr. Holland? No, we've kind of discussed this case well enough concerning him.
I'm good.
Would anyone like to place a motion on the floor for the individual?
Yeah, regarding Mr. Holland, 2025 EB 13, regarding disclosure of confidential information with respect to SB 22, section 7.1C3. I agree that this officer should dismiss for lack of probable cause.
I
Make that motion. Yeah.
All in favor?
In regards to Mr. Holland, for misuse of position, SB 22, section 7.1, 22C4, I do agree that motion should be made for probable cause.
I second.
All in favor? Unanimous.
And then lastly, for Mr. Holland, failure to disclose interest, SB 22, 7.1E, I agree that we make a motion, or I make the motion to dismiss for lack of probable cause.
I second.
All in favor? As it relates to EB 2025 EB 13, John Doe versus Victoria Rogers.
We have one more in the same department.
Yeah, Victoria Rogers.
Yeah,
I just said that.
sorry. As it relates to Victoria Robert, for disclosure of confidential information, I recommend dismiss of lack of probable cause. For misuse of position, I recommend dismiss for lack of probable cause and failure to disclose. I also recommend that the dismissal of lack of probable cause. Based on the complaint that was provided, the only complaint from the complainant was the fact that documents were not given in a appropriate time according to the complainant, but the complainant did receive all documents that was requested. It appears that Ms. Rogers conducted an investigation on whether or not the suspension was substantiated at the request of the complainant. And although the complainant disagrees with the findings are what they are based on that investigation. I did not find any code violation that could meet what the complainant stated against Ms. Rogers.
I'll make a motion. As it relates to 2025 ED 13, Victoria Rogers for disclosure of confidential information, SB 22 7.1 C3. I make a motion for dismiss of lack.
Let's just do a total.
Oh, okay. For disclosure, I'm sorry, for disclosure of confidentiality, SB 22 section 7.1 3, misuse of position, SB 22 section 7.122 4, and failure to disclose interest, SB 22 section 7.1 E. I agree and make a motion to dismiss for lack of probable cause.
I second. All in favor? Moving on to item H, presentation by ethics officer. Probable cause on case number 2025 EB 14, Shanna Park versus Ms. Bernita Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. In regards to 2025 EB 15, this case may look familiar as this is a similar case that the board took up last month. This case has been filed under new allegations against Ms. Bernita Campbell, who is the budget director, so we do have personal jurisdiction. The claim is a misuse of position. We have talked about misuse of position in the prior case. The complainant alleges that Ms. Campbell knowingly inserted false evaluation into the complaint's personnel file in order to justify the adverse employment action. And that adverse employment action, if the cause is actually the termination of Ms. Parks. And while no direct financial or political gain was identified, the complainant does say that provided the director with significant professional benefits in order to protect her authority and shielding herself from accountability, preserving her reputation within the organization. The complainant also alleged that the falsification is described as part of a broader pattern of manipulation and discrimination conduct. The complainant asserts that Campbell previously denied a qualified county employee with a disability opportunity to apply for a position filled by the complainant, controlling the hiring decisions for her personal and professional injuries rather than the county. They specifically cite several violations that they believe and where it falls. They believe that there was dishonesty and misrepresentation. There was a misuse of position, a breach of public trust, and obstruction of their process. I reviewed several documents that were provided. Some of these documents the board may remember from last month's case, but a few of the documents were different. First one was the internal investigation memo that had several attachments to it. The offer letter dated 11/12/24, the termination letter dated 3/2025. They actually provided hearing county policy 1.02, an interview of an employee that's still current with the county, Mr. Marcus Adams, and various email correspondences between the individual and HR, a counseling form of Mr. Marcus Adams, and various meeting notes that the complainant had taken while employed with the county. We just spoke about what misuse of position is. I believe the board has been refreshed on that. As it relates to Ms. Bernita Campbell, I do recommend probable cause as it relates to the misuse of position. The information that was provided indicates that as the budget director, this individual may have used their position to falsify or fabricate information within a HR file for justification of termination, which would be a warranted use of their position. In addition to that, I also recommend adding activity prohibited by law. That was not mentioned by the complainant, but the activity that is described could be absolutely prohibited by law. Also put in the board a refresher of what that specific code violation is. Based on the information that was provided, I do recommend probable cause on both of those allegations. Yes, sir.
Was there any proof provided for the insertion of false counseling documents?
The document that was provided was the counseling form itself, to which the complainant indicates they had never seen that that document was put in their file after termination.
The counseling forms, are they signed or they're just placed in the file?
Ms. Parks went and got herself an attorney.
So the counseling record form is signed by Ms. Campbell. At least the one for February 16th, 2024 is.
Is it signed by the employee?
It does appear that it is also signed by the employee.
What date?
2/16/20. No, I'm sorry. That was for the other employee that that individual referenced. That's the wrong counseling form. I do not see the counseling form in here against this individual. I will tell you the probationary performance evaluation form is not signed, nor is the personal action form. That form is also not signed
By either party or just by the employee?
by either party. The probationary employee performance evaluation form is dated March 17, 2025, and it is not signed. There is, I do recall some question of whether or not it has to be signed. There was some discussions from HR in the big investigation that the form doesn't necessarily have to be signed by the employee because typically the employee is given the form on the day that they're separated. So it's typically a hand and goodbye, and they don't have to typically sign it. But the form that was provided to us is also not signed by the supervisor. And if you all remember in the last case, this was investigated by the county. And there was some findings of mistreatment and discrimination explicitly. So with those findings coupled with the complainant herself indicating these things were in my file and they only were in my file after I was terminated, to me, that gave rise for probable cause to look into it further.
I would agree because normally if an employee doesn't have to sign, but normally if an employee does not sign, it should be witnessed by someone, but the employee refused to sign it. And it's documented at that time because if I come back later on and say, no, you never gave it to me, you have no proof that you gave it to me. It's just me and you. Most of the time, the supervisor's word has more strength, but an attorney can take that and turn it upside down. So, but if you got a witness, it's normally a two-person witness. That's normally what it is. Supervisor, the employee saying, HR or somebody else saying it was presented and refused to sign.
And just for my clarification, how many forms are we talking about adding to the file that? How many counseling? Was it the entire or just one document? It sounded like it was one.
Two.
It was two?
I believe it was
It
two.
was two?
This is a copy of the investigation package that was done by the county that was presented to the board last month. But it appeared for this particular allegation, it sounds like the complainant is saying that it was two, but whether it was one or two, I believe it needs to be looked in further.
Are those the only two recommendations?
Those are the only two recommendations.
And the one prohibited by law is because of the forms that were played.
Possibly, I'm not sure yet. But it appears that if there is some documents that have been fabricated or falsified, that would be activity prohibited by law. And that's what the complainant is alleging, that there was documents that have been fabricated and placed into the file of the complaint.
When HR conducted their investigation, was this point brought out?
Let me check. I'm not sure if this point was brought out. I do know that there are several documents that were not provided to, or within the package that the complainant had to supplement that indicated was not in the county's file. I don't know if this specific issue was brought out to the county. I would have to, in the formal investigation, in the interview with the complainant, I would inquire.
Can we go back to the complaint? please?
Sure.
Prior to that? Or was it after?
After.
Thank you. So there's evidence to show that the qualified county employee with a disability was denied an opportunity.
Yes, that was provided, that the counseling form and the interview of that employee was provided.
That's prohibited by law.
That's the point I was making. They were really denied a position and told it was because of their disability?
I can't say they were, that's not.
That's the allegation?
That's the allegation, correct.
That's the allegation.
New allegations.
It is.
I'm sorry.
It is.
Okay, okay. That was gonna say, it wasn't.
Exactly this time, I've been home, get a hold of this.
One, that was not that was not brought in the complaint.
All right. Yeah,
But that is still a third party though, isn't it? She's reporting the report.
unless there's physical evidence, correspondence, emails, documents.
She's reporting it about the third party, but she's using it to substantiate how this particular employee is using their position to manipulate and to engage in discriminatory conduct. So she's saying this happened to me, and not only has it happened to me, but it has also happened to this other individual that's in the same department.
And that other individual, is that the interviewed individual?
Yes, that individual was interviewed. Everyone in that department was interviewed. And it was only 3 people in the department.
But that's the individual's opinion or what they think.
Correct. And that's why I always say that's the allegation. At this stage, when we're at probable cause, that is just what the complainant is putting forward. That doesn't mean that
It's true.
in an interview with Mrs. Campbell, Mrs. Campbell didn't have valid reasons as to why she didn't hire that or put that person in that position, because Mrs. Campbell, or excuse me, Mrs. Parks was actually hired for the position that the individual she's speaking of did not get promoted to. So it would need further investigation.
It worked out to her benefit though.
It did, that's how she got the job.
Exactly.
But
That doesn't mean it was good.
I
She
was-
appreciated it. Apparently, she didn't think it was right.
Oh, after she got.
After she got, yeah.
But
after she-
it just shows a pattern. She's doing it to show the pattern that, okay, she thought she won something, then she found out that she was losing. Also,
To me, was she perhaps alleging she didn't get it?
Well, that creates a problem for me though.
Hmm?
That creates a problem for me. And the reason I say that is, you know, there's an issue and it's only an issue when you get fired, but never said anything else. So
she didn't have a clause other than being a whistleblower. She couldn't have filed anything, and who knows to say she didn't report. She didn't have a reason to state it before because.
Moved for her.
Huh?
Moved for her at that time.
Perhaps.
So even, and maybe it wasn't, but what, I'm gonna go and report on somebody else's behalf? What's wrong with them? But when I have an issue, now I can just put all the issues together. But normally we don't, unless you report as a whistleblower or something, normally you don't report on other people bad.
What I'm saying is I have an issue with her bringing it up because she benefited from that situation. That's the only thing I'm saying.
But now she's gonna benefit from not from the same situation because now you're gonna show that it's a pattern. Maybe I did get the job, but now she did this to help me get the job. So you're showing the pattern.
It's an allegation.
It's it is an allegation, but the thing is, we're looking into it.
I know. Yeah, I'm just saying that
I don't think it discredits a person's character because they waited to report something later, because we don't understand the why. It could be the person who it allegedly happened to, not really that concerned, or not wanting to press the issue and not understanding in which ways they can. Or not having the support, maybe, sometimes folks don't blow whistles because they fear retaliation, losing opportunity. But we can't say character-wise is flawed, or I'm only doing this because it benefits me. It is, I do this because it hurt me, and then I find out it also hurt them, so I may as well join the two allegations together.
And she could have just told her when she got fired. She could have said, well, she didn't even allow me to apply for the position. We don't know when she found out that the other lady could not apply for the position. She's just bringing it up now. Maybe the first time she didn't even know because it wasn't in the first complaint, but it's in the second one. So she could have, as she was gathering her information, she could have found that out then.
And it's a guy.
It's a guy. Okay.
once again,
I think people do things every day people don't report until they think that it could be of harm or an issue to themselves. I don't think it makes them a bad person. It just is.
no, I wasn't questioning their character. I just have a problem with the fact that they're using that issue.
That's the problem.
I'm just saying that I have a problem. That's because it's this, you're saying, hey, you fired me. I agree with the fact that, hey, the falsified counting statements, that's great. However, now you're saying, well, I observed all these other issues that kind of.
Well, now I believe that there's
Haven't observed it. She's going based, in my personal opinion, it got to be on third party information because she couldn't have observed it.
It's hearsay. I use that word for.
I think what's happening is what folks understand things better when there's a professional involved, right? And so if there's an attorney involved and we're trying to establish a pattern of behavior, then it supports our case of illegal
I agree with
performance,
that.
right? And so now that we have someone who's better informed and understand how to put these words together and how to build this case to make it legitimate and of merit, then that's what they're doing. And they've combined some other folks within the department. It's not like other people didn't allege certain things too, but this particular person is willing to move forward with their complaint or their concern issue. But they're not necessarily putting a complaint forward, but they're saying, hey, you're putting forth a complaint, add my story to a pattern of behavior. To establish a pattern of behavior.
I got it. I'm okay.
Who's to say we won't get another complaint? We just have to provide.
Deal with the allegations, would you like to go?
I have a question. This particular allegation, HR did not look into this because they were not made aware of this, correct?
It does not appear that HR looked into this. Everything that HR looked into, based on discrimination, some improper training. It appears that there was some allegations of.
Yeah, from and help me if I'm wrong, but when our last meeting, which was on the 19th, I believe, of August, this complainant was watching and wanted to add additional information, which was this information that they felt was missing. But because we don't invite the public in, they had to go through the proper channels. So when we dismissed, their whole thing was, hey, you dismissed, but you didn't add this portion. It was like, we didn't add it because we didn't have it. And so it was something that they knew and wanted us to know on the 19th. They just could not make us aware because we were in a live meeting.
Correct. And the code says that probable cause page that no evidence from outside can be presented. And that, yes, the code says that. So they want to speak, but at this stage, they cannot speak.
Mhm.
And so the findings were made earlier than what we're having now, but when they submitted their original complaint, they didn't include that piece of information, but they wanted to add it after the fact, but didn't do so in time enough
Correct.
before we heard the case.
And the original evaluation that was done, it was based on a hostile work environment, retaliation, improper training, but it does not appear that these specific allegations of loss of workers, fabrication, and personnel rating is included in the investigation.
Okay, so in this particular allegation, is there a remedy for reemployment as well, or no?
The board position or HR position?
From the individual's position? Are they requesting
Damages or
So
reemployment?
they have, the only thing this individual has wanted in the last complaint and this complaint is to get their position back. This individual moved to Henry County out of state for the position. And felt as though from the time that they walked into the position, they did not have the proper training from Mrs. Campbell, and ultimately was terminated based on the workplace discrimination. And then that now with new allegations, there was some falsification to help support that termination that should have never.
So even if we were to take up the case, found there were violations of ethics, it doesn't assure that they're going to get the position, I mean, their position.
That's not our concern.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Want to make sure that's clear.
But she has, from that report that other lady did, she had enough information to go to an employment attorney anyway from that. Isn't this the same one that had that report?
Yes, ma'am.
She has enough information to get her job back.
My understanding from the complainant is that.
They should have given it back already.
Is or has already appealed within the county the termination.
Okay.
What they do next is gonna determine her next step.
Yeah. Yeah, she already has enough evidence for that from that report.
Right.
Internal.
Mhm.
Right. So I think that's what I wanna, say. All right.
I think she's just trying to address the supervisor,
Issue.
make some things done.
Listen, I applaud her for going this route. Let her, let's go to the vote. Like to make a motion, would anyone or?
I'll make it. In regards to case 2025 EB 14, Shannon Parks versus Bernita Campbell. Regarding misuse of position, SB 22 7.1 C4. And activity prohibited by law, SB 22 7.1 C7. I make the motion to find probable cause on both allegations or both complaints of those violations.
I said,
All in favor?
Yeah, that concludes all of the presentations I have for the board tonight. If there's any more questions.
Are there any more questions from the board? Thank you. Moving on to item I, review and vote of rules and procedures.
Yeah, at the last meeting, the board wanted to table how to move forward on the conflict regarding absences. Whether it will be 3 or whether it will be 5.
And SB 22 states 60%? Or is it our rules and procedures that state 60%?
It's the rules and procedures, and it speaks when she does not speak of specific.
Alrighty. Would you like to discuss, or do we have idea of leaning towards 3 or 5 absences?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Are we clarifying this or are we establishing?
We're
Clarify.
clarifying in the conflict in the current rules and procedures.
Can you read that for us so we can bring it to refresh our memories?
One part says, members of the board shall attend all meetings unless the absence is unavoidable. remain on the board, each member shall be required to attend not less than 60% the meetings of the board in any one-year term pursuant to these rules unless expressly excused in writing. A board member that continues to be absent and has missed a total of 5 scheduled meetings within 1-year term of the board will be subject to removal.
And where's the language for the 3 days? I had it highlighted, I just need to find it.
That is 3.8 removal. As used in this rule, the term for cause shall include indictment of a conviction of a felony or substitute. Subject to attend 3 or more board meetings or hearings in a 1-year period without issue. So 3.8 conflicts with 7.9.
While you're doing that, what does the 60% add up to if we calculate it? Anybody do?
I only went to law school, so I hate math.
So
So it's.
7.2.
That's, yeah, it's once a month.
So it's 7.
So we need something that's gonna be consistent, the percentage and the numbers and the removal for cause.
Because we only have 12. So it definitely would be 60%.
Yeah,
Probably
that's what I want.
5 sounds reasonable.
They have 3.
Well,
Three
and
is
one
not
place
reasonable.
it has 3, the other place it has 5.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Gina,
Oh, so I
So
would,
if you
yeah,
look at it backwards, it's 60% of the meetings is 7, so 5 would be your number.
mhm,
And it would be unexcused. The code or the board's procedures does specify unless expressly excused in writing. And pursuant to the board rules, the chair always makes the decision on whether it's excused or not.
So here's my concern. And I know I brought this up originally and now I'm backtracking maybe. And the reason I say that is because in training, Bashar, you help me, please. Failure to attend 3 or more board meetings or hearings in 1 year without good and sufficient reason, meaning the 3 is for a good or sufficient reason. A total of 5 period is dismissal. Is that still a conflict really, or is it, can the both stand together?
So I'm looking at 7.9, but I'm not finding the one
The 3
where it
points.
says 5.
5 is here.
60%. Oh, this is, okay.
Here. 7.9 and then.
Okay,
I'll have another problem.
so that's,
We have to remove the 60%. Yeah,
Yeah, we would. We have to review the 60%, sure, because that's a lot of missing.
Percentage needs to match whatever numbers the board is.
That's only more than half.
That's
more.
look at that.
Yeah, that's too many. Unless we look at it the way how he suggested it, which is.
Well, attend at least 60%. What's the language on that?
Yeah, so you gotta attend at least 7.
Right.
At 7, and then you have where you have the excused or unexcused. So
Yeah, because the
So it'll be 5.
of 3, but a total of 5.
Mhm.
So basically you have 2 different unexcused, but
yeah.
And does it say consecutive?
I don't think so.
But it's confusing because
Year term. Okay.
I do like the language of that consecutive versus.
whether you
Yeah.
3
No.
It won't make a difference. It won't make a difference.
I'll make a
It
difference.
won't make a difference. And if you have that problem, you got bigger problems.
yeah, executive, yeah.
And you just had someone
to come in. Yeah.
so excited.
So here, fair to attend 3 or more board meetings, 1 year period with.
Yeah.
But then we would have an
It's huge, exactly.
It says,
Then we need to talk about this.
a board member that continues to be absent.
No, the chair-
a 1-year term. Now, if you did have consecutive here, then the need to would be different. It's like if you miss 5 consecutive meetings, then you're definitely be able to hear. If you
Yeah. So we need to.
Yeah, if you miss 3. 3 unexcused absences is ground for removal. So if you had,
So it sounds like we're
what if you
not
had 3, if you had 5 excused absences, you're still subject to removal.
Why do we have a percentage? The percentage is kind of giving you a part of a day, so you can show up and leave early. 70%, because even if we change the number to 70%, it's 8.4.
70% in attendance or 70%
of attendance. 70%
present? Okay.
present. Why don't we just stick with the number percentage out?
That's what I'm-
Like, it's just not making sense to have the percentage.
It makes it very difficult, it's vague.
Oh, so,
Say what you mean.
so present at least 7 times. Is that what we're?
I'm sorry, I'm too busy.
So to be,
8, she's saying 8 times.
Oh,
No, I mean, no, 8, meaning, be present 70% of the time,
8 times.
8 times, 4 meetings. Go somewhere in between, 3 excused, 1 because your car broke down. I mean, that's an excuse though. I look at 3 excused. I mean, do you feel we need more than 3?
I think we do.
Where you go?
No, I'm just saying, I'm not going anywhere at all. I'm just saying, life happens sometimes. And to me, if someone's life happens or whatever, you know, it could be once in January, once in, you know, June, whatever. And then all of a sudden, you're out because it's 3.
But that's where the chair can kind of consider those variables and make a decision as to whether, you know, that's allowable, you know.
Oh, so you're saying unexcused? Okay,
Yes and no.
I thought you were saying periods.
Saying 3 unexcused or 4 unexcused.
No, with good reason. 3 for good reason. Any 4, then good reason could result in removal. So in other words, let's say you had, I know it's so incredibly confusing, that's why I brought it up. But if you were to have 3 excused reasons for why you missed your meetings, right? Anything more than those 3 can be grounds for removal upon further information and investigations. May not mean to remove that.
Mhm.
I
Or
think we just say it
determination.
just like that.
Yeah,
Okay,
further investigation or.
so tell me how we
Chapter
say,
3.
just like, because I'm a mother, so I say things that I don't always say.
Yeah, the way you just said it, to me, was the most
Can you
clear.
repeat it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you said-
Write that down somewhere.
Is it better? Say, okay, hold on, 'cause you.
Right, it's.
Yeah, write it down.
You said-
That's why I'm asking,
So basically, you can have 3
Excused.
excused absences total. Any
Yes,
more
for
than
good
that?
reason, yeah. Is grounds for removal
Right.
upon further
That's
investigation.
right.
Okay.
Yes,
My question.
So it's no unexcused, just 3 excused.
Wait a minute.
I thought it was 3 unexcused. It's unexcused.
No, it said for good reason.
Yeah, I thought it was 3.
Good reason is, you can have good like, good reason is.
Voting excuse absence. That's one.
No. What I'm saying is, so let's remove the word excuse, because that's
Okay,
really
yeah.
for school.
Mhm.
Good reason. Good and justifiable reason, it varies, right? It's not always ailment. I mean, it doesn't mean you're sick. It doesn't mean you're tired. It could very well mean I had a vacation and the thing was scheduled during my vacation week.
Okay, so then here, right here, it says that in 3.8, it says, so these are all ground removal. Failure to attend 3 or more board meetings parents in a 1-year period without good and sufficient.
Right, we just need that
That's it
language
right
in the other
there.
paragraph to
That's my
mirror.
question. That's.
It's already there. We just need another paragraph to mirror, you know?
No, well, I have a question about that.
Sure.
Okay, so the question I have is, are we specifically talking about board meetings or
Hearings,
hearings?
Oh, it says board meeting hearing.
board meetings,
Yeah.
Okay, now, next question is, are we talking about
we need.
scheduled or rescheduled?
I think a meeting, yeah.
No, it's different. I get what you're saying.
Mhm.
Because I was available on the original date. You rescheduled on a day that I wasn't available, but it was of no choice of mine that you rescheduled this date.
Exactly.
But wouldn't that be an absence for good cause? You
But
guys would decide.
would it be count against the person who's absent because it was no fault of their own? They didn't
This was
choose to be
rescheduled.
absent because of the rescheduling. It caused
A conflict.
a conflict.
But this says 3 without good and sufficient cause, so. that
So
would
you all
consider-
determined that that's.
Yeah, good and sufficient cause, so it would
Yeah.
not be counted against them.
Basically, we're changing it. You're saying 3 excuse, that says without cause, correct?
But it say, in
No,
two
it's-
different places, it say two
it's-
different
it's
things.
Confusing the way that it.
But if the goal is to say that you're allowed to read
Right.
for just and good and justifiable cause,
It said
then
board
the language in
meeting.
3.8 is sufficient, but the language in 7.9 needs to reflect the language in 3.8. Because under 3.8, it gives you 3 without good and sufficient cause. So 3 for whatever. If you say, I just don't wanna come, you can do 3 times, and then you have to be voted on, and removed.
I have a question. So if we limit it to 3,
But there's not just 3, it says and more. Don't forget that added language, and more.
but that's discretionary.
It is indeed discretionary.
So that's kind of,
So what if you just say you can have 3 absences, any more than that? That's when you have, I mean, 3 for any reason at all, right? Isn't that, it says that somewhere, right? You have 3 for any reason at all. Any more than that, you need to have good cause, right? Is that what it said? Or did I just make that up?
Sufficient cause. Because if you get to this board, we don't want you just willy-nilly just decide not to show up.
Right, but you only have 3 no matter what.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
yeah, it's 3 basically.
I'm sorry. You don't have.
You don't have
three.
3?
You need to be at the meetings, period.
Right. You don't have any.
Exactly.
Okay,
Well, the language says you have 3.
right.
Now, language says you have 3.
For any reason,
but
right?
not for any.
Yes.
But it's, I guess that's why we're having this discussion. because-
Okay, so the language does
that
not
could be
say
a
for any
number.
reason. Let's clarify.
What does it
The
say?
language says failure to attend 3 or more board meetings or hearings in 1 year period without good and sufficient reason. It isn't for any.
That's
reason.
what I like that.
Yeah, for
versus-
good and sufficient. reason.
Versus you have 3 of, you know,
Okay.
that's what,
What was the other
that's what I'm
one?
saying.
But then the other thing says a board member that continues to be absent and has missed a total of 5 scheduled meetings within a 1-year term of the board will be subject to removal.
And see, the problem with that is subject to, because at that point you should automatically move.
You can't say automatically remove.
I mean, I know. I get, but you,
There's no vote if you say it that way.
it's almost like self-termination. If you indeed decide you miss 5, then you terminate.
It's easy vote.
I would disagree because the hearings coming up and with them becoming more and more,
That's
It's-
frequent.
yeah,
That's fair.
you could miss those because if you've already dedicated yourself to the Tuesday, then the hearings could be different days.
Well,
People.
that's what I was clarifying earlier. But the
It's-
hearing, you're committed to the hearings as well.
It's clarified.
Yes, what you're not committed to is rescheduling of dates.
If we remove the language of the hearings, then we may not have quorum to conduct a hearing, and then we brought together all these people.
And that's
Yeah.
not,
Fall short, like we can't hold a different rule for hearings versus the board meeting. We really need you for both.
that's where I have an issue with you have those 3 days. What if those 3 days happen to be on a hearing that you want to take?
But according to 3.8.
Everyone deserves a day off.
Not a hearing.
3.8 gives you 3 days
Well, you
without
come
giving
here
a
always.
reason of why you're using those 3 days. That's really what it does.
Also, I will say that you probably could discuss this in executive session because it is personnel matters.
True.
Just to
Okay.
Shoot it around this way because
We're gonna shoot it
Yes,
around. Yeah, we're gonna
I
get
would
very
say-
candid.
when I.
Would anyone like to make a motion to go into executive
I
session?
make a motion that we go into executive session, keep the attorney and the administrative.
Keeping the officer and administrator.
Yes.
Administrator. And removing tech.
Removing tech, well, tech is. We have to keep them.
Carlos forgets sometimes.
Oh.
Doesn't have part of the group.
Just tell me.
Second.
I second the motion. to go
All in
into executive
favor?
session.
My motion would come out of the executive session.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Are we, I'm sorry. I gotta find the document. Here we go. All right, so their motion to
I
meet
make the motion to adjourn.
a second,
I second.
all in favor?
We're good?
Yes. Yeah.
Not yet.